Hey everybody, welcome to Bones Collector, and today we're going to continue our Ultimate Top 100 board games of all time, and we're doing 40 through 31 today. I do want to emphasize and take this moment to tell you, if you haven't seen the other videos all the way down to position number 100, please take a minute and watch those. You'll be glad you did. There's so many wonderful games in those positions on this list that you don't want to ignore them. You might see something that really intrigues you. So with that being said, let's continue on with this video series. Okay, with position number 40, we have two games that I want to talk about, and I don't know why they remind me of each other, but they do. So I wanted to put them together, and that's Kingsburg and Lords of Waterdeep. Now, besides Splendor, these two games are the games that people always say, that other game is a killer, a Kingsburg killer. It's a Lords of Waterdeep killer. I wish I had $1 for every time I heard that about these two games. And I think about that when other reviewers say that, and it just doesn't occur to me that they're correct. Because I love playing both of these games. Just like I love playing Splendor. I'm not going to stop playing it, and it's sold 1 million copies. So there's a lot of board game designers out there that would love to have their board game sell 1 million copies. But let's talk about Kingsburg to start with. So a little jump skip there. I had a little Colgate toothpaste on my mustache. Lori wanted to get that off there for me, so we had a little jump skip there. But I want to talk about Kingsburg. It's for 2 to 5 players, and I said it's by Fantasy Flight. This is the only Fantasy Flight game that we have in our library. I've played a lot of their games, and I just found nothing that had staying power in my library. But Kingsburg does. I love this game, and it's a dice, rolling dice worker placement type of game. And you see these advisors on the board here. You're going to roll your dice and simply use those dice to place on these advisors, and they each have a value. So your dice have to have that value. You can take 2 of them and make a value and place it, or you can use them 1 at a time, or you can use 3, all 3 of the dice that you roll. I think you're rolling 3, yeah. And it has a wonderful catch-up mechanism where during the first season, person that's behind gets to roll an extra white die, and that really helps with the catch-up stuff in this game. And then at the bottom of the board here, you have a track that has the seasons on it, and you move a marker. It helps you keep track of the game, and there's different functions you're going to perform during those seasons. And there's also what's that guy called, the Bishop. There's another catch-up mechanism called an envoy. It's an envoy.
King's Envoy.
King's Envoy, yeah. King's Envoy, thank you. That is going to help you catch up also if you're behind. If you have the least amount of buildings constructed, you're going to be able to take that King's Envoy, and he's going to give you a couple of benefits that help you catch up. So that's kind of nice. It has a couple of those mechanisms in the game. But Lori and I love this game. And then on your player board, you have buildings you're going to build, and when you build one of those buildings, it's going to give you a little help. It's not a big, massive, oh wow, some big, huge benefit. It's going to be something that maybe only helps you once per season, something like that. So you have to, when you're building those buildings on your player sheet, you have to manipulate which ones and think about which ones you want to string together to help you have the best strategy for scoring the most points around the point track on the board. But I love Kingsburg. I loved it the first time we played it, and it's deep enough that experienced gamers like to play Kingsburg. I know I do over and over, and I've played games that are very complex, but this one is one you can, if you haven't played it in 6 months, you can take it out of the box, put it on the table, review a few rules, and say, oh yeah, now I remember now. And go back to playing it. And the same goes for Lords of Waterdeep. This is a worker placement game in the Dungeons and Dragons universe, and we have had this, oh gosh, I don't know, we've had this a long time, and I love playing it. It has to lay down, however, though, because the insert is such.
It is the world's worst game box.
Well, I don't know if it's that or.
Well, look at the lid. It's like an inch tall.
But it's got a pretty nice insert. You have to keep it laid down. And one thing Lori did for this game is the game comes with cubes to represent these meeples, the clerics and fighters and rogues and I think wizards. And Lori got these teeny little meeples in the exact cube color that came in the game. And so we tricked it out with those, and it makes the game a little more fun for us. But we love this game, and it's contract fulfillment. You're going to have quests and so forth that you want to do. Intrigue cards you're going to play. And when you are placing your workers, you can get these buildings you can build that give you another worker placement slot. So those are kind of nice. So I really love these buildings that that are going to go on the board and increase the worker placement spots that you have to go to. If somebody else wants to use them, they have to pay you. And I really like that aspect of this game also. But wow, what a fun game. And again, people always want to say when they play a game, a worker placement game, oh, that's a Lords of Waterdeep killer. But people want to put this Lords of Waterdeep in Kingsburg in the cemetery, the board gaming cemetery. I love them the first time I played them, and I love them today. And I'm never going to get rid of them. That's why I wanted to talk about them, and they are in my number 40 position on the Ultimate Top 100 Board Games list. Okay, on number 39, we have 4 games by one of my favorite board game designers ever, and that's Rudy Gorn. He's such a good board game designer, and his games have that element of complexity where it's just right for us, and the games are fun, and for us that's the most important factor. The first game I want to talk about is Karuba. It is a Haba production, and Haba is known for their family weight games, but I love Karuba. And in Karuba, it's kind of like bingo a little bit. It's a tile laying game where you're going to be laying tiles through the jungle and looking for treasures and so forth, and you want to have your paths lead to the temples, I think they're called. And so in order to do that, one player is going to call out a tile. Pick a tile at random, call it out. Everybody has to place that tile. So you're all going to have your tiles laid out. They're going to call it out, and everybody has to place that exact tile. And that makes this game very, very fun, because you're trying to figure out, what am I going to do with that? I mean, I want this path to go that way, but then I want to get over here and get this treasure, but I want to get up to that temple at the same time, and you're trying to think of where you want to place that tile.
And there's gems that come out on the path that you
gems
want to
that come
try
out
to
on the
collect.
path, and you're inevitably going to have a situation where they call out a tile and you're just going to hate that tile. You're going to, what am I going to do with that? I don't want that tile, but you're going to have to find a way to make it work in Karuba. This game is wonderful to play. It's so much fun. It's light, and we enjoy it, and that's Karuba. All right, second game we're going to talk about from Rudy Gorn is by Alea Games, and it's Las Vegas Royale. And this is for 2 to 5 players. We can play this in 45 minutes, sometimes even less at 2-player. But this is a dice chucker, and this is the epitome of board gaming fun, I'm telling you right now. It's called Royale. It came out first as Las Vegas, and then there were a couple of expansions, and all the expansions are in this box. So the Royale version has all the expansions if you can get this particular copy. But it's a dice chucker. I love this game. It's so much fun, and we play it with new gamers, don't we?
We've played that with 5.
Yeah, we played this with 5 players. They have these beautiful dice, and the cool thing, one of the cool mechanics in this game is in your color of dice, I think you have 6 dice in your hand. One of them is called a biggie dice, and it's twice as big as the other dice.
And it has black pips instead of white, so you can find it.
And it counts for 2 when you're placing it on the space and you're trying to win money. This is Vegas. You're trying to win as much money as you possibly can, and so it's an area control mechanism that's employed in order to determine who is going to win that money. And it's so much fun. I love it. When they came out with this package, I had waited and waited to get this game, and as soon as I saw this package, I'm like, I'm getting that game. And there's so much in the box that you don't even have to use the expansion stuff. I mean, you can just use the tray and like it came out in the Las Vegas version, and play the game like that, which is insanely fun. It's a gas. And then add in some of those extra tiles that go around that give you gambling challenges because you're in Vegas. But wow, what a fun game. That's Las Vegas Royale by Rudy Gorn. All right, the next game I'm going to talk about is Arcadia. Arcadia is for 2 to 4 players, and we can play this in an hour. This game we were very late to. This game was out a long time before we ever got it.
That's an old game.
It's an old game. It's 2007. We found a brand new copy. They shipped it to us in the shrink, and we were thrilled to find it. We played it, and wow, what a great gaming experience it was. And in this game, you're simply in the city of Arcadia, and you're trying to build the city the way you want it to be built. You're an architect in the city of Arcadia, and you have these pieces of these building blocks, and each one of them has a different color coin on them, and so when you put those in the center of the city, that's going to determine how you score these tiles that are on the board and how you place and introduce your workers into the game. There's so much to think about in this game. I couldn't believe how much fun we had playing it.
It's bird's eye view scoring.
Yeah.
It's whoever's on the top.
Yeah, it is so good, this game. And it just solidified Rudy Gorn as one of my favorite board game designers, even though I hadn't played this till this year.
16 years.
Yeah. 16 years after it came out. That's why, of course, everybody's enamored with the new games. And I will say this, new games have better publishing jobs than old games. Because
sometimes
that seems
better graphics too, yeah.
Better graphic design, stuff like that. But that doesn't mean the games are better. This game is wonderful to play. It's fantastic in its design, and it's fun, folks. And that's why we love Arcadia by Rudy Gorn. My last game by Rudy Gorn that I want to talk about is Runestones. Runestones, again, is for 2 to 4 players, and it takes an hour to play. And in Runestones, you're trying to do exactly that. Acquire these Runestones that you see on the board right here. And you do that with a card mechanic that's very interesting. So in this game, you can buy a card off this market row. Your cards have pips on the top, different color pips. If you play a card, you get that many credits toward buying in the market. Now, if you have 2 cards in your hand that are the same color, you can play those and have all those pips count. If you have 3 cards and they're all identical, you can play 3 cards and have all those pips count towards buying in the market. And you can buy more than 1 card. So that's kind of nice. And that's what you want to do to build up your hand, because this is a deck builder. And you're trying to build up your hand. But it's also a deck building game where you're going to call your deck whether you like it or not. And the way that happens is when you play those cards to use their benefit on the cards, you have to get rid of the highest number card out of your hand. So you're looking at your hand and asking yourself, do I want to sacrifice that card at this point in the game? And a lot of times you'll make the decision, I don't want to do that yet. So you'll play it and try to just buy another card or do something else with the card rather than sacrificing maybe a dragon card or something that early, because the dragons have the higher numbers. So you have that decision making going on when you're trying to manage your hand of cards, manage that deck that you're building. Man, this game is so much fun. And we do have an expansion for this game because it only comes with like 12 runestones, I think. It's enough, but we wanted more variety, so we went ahead and bought an expansion just to get the extra runestones. And so we do have an expansion. I'm not an advocate of buying expansions, trust me. But I like getting an expansion to have some extra runestones in this game. But this game is so much fun, and we enjoy it. It's just a game, again, that will tell you that Rudy Gorn is a wonderful board game designer. And I'm trying to think, we also had, what was that, Luxor by Rudy Gorn. It had an interesting hand management mechanic in it. But
that's one we let go. We shouldn't have. But
yeah.
What do you do?
But you can't keep them all.
Nope.
And these are the ones we decided to keep by Rudy Gorn. There is another game of his way up my list, and we'll talk about that one when we get there. But in position number 39 are these games by Rudy Gorn, and we love these games. Okay, in position number 38, we have one game, and this game was designed by Ivan Lashen. Never heard of Ivan Lashen, but I know about him now because I really love Furnace. And Furnace is a game that is for 2 to 4 players, and it's an engine building game with a very unique bidding mechanic in it, where you don't always want to win the bid, and that makes bidding very interesting. Even in 2-player, you have discs, I think they're number 1 through 4, and you're trying to use those discs to win market cards, of course, to put in your tableau, which have to be fired off in order. So you want to have those placed properly in your tableau. But the bidding mechanic is so unique, so wonderful. I played this at a convention and knew that I had to have it. What's up, little girl? And I got this used. Now, I always like to tell you guys that for 20 bucks, and it had the neoprene playmat in the box, because there's not a lot in here. It's just a deck of cards and some dice and your bidding tokens. Excuse me, that's money. This is your bidding tokens. And they're different sizes, and they are numbered 1 through 4. But it is such a fun game because of that bidding mechanism. And there's another game that is on crowdfunding right now, and I don't ever tell anybody to get involved in crowdfunding. It's not a good idea. But Nocturne by Flat Out Games right now has a pretty unique bidding mechanism in it.
The game does look interesting.
Yeah, it makes it look interesting. But Furnace is fantastic. You guys will love it when you play it. It's a kind of an industrial theme, which I was immediately turned off by, but learned to suck it up because the game's so fantastic that I had to have it. And that's Furnace by Ivan Lashen. And position number 37, we have Matt Laycock's Era, Medieval Age. Now this is a game that was a roll and write called Roll Through the Ages, the Bronze Age or something like that. And we had that, the publishing job was phenomenal. It had wooden dice and wooden pegboards that went with the game, so we really enjoyed that game. It was one of the only roll and writes I ever enjoyed. But we decided once this came out to get rid of it, and I'm glad we did, because this is a dice chucking game like no other. It's fantastic because you're going to roll dice and try to build buildings on these pegboards. That is going to be your player area, and there's certain ways you have to place those buildings on those pegboards to score them. They have to be surrounded by city walls, and your farm's got to be outside the city walls, things like that. And the farms give you different things, so you want to build farms, but you have to be able to place them. So it's very interesting in its placement mechanics of the buildings in this city you're trying to build. The dice in this game are beautiful. They're engraved and they're sculpted dice, so I really enjoy that. I like everything about this game. It's for 1 to 4 players. I've never played it solo, but that would be interesting. And we can play this in 45 minutes to an hour, and I really enjoy that about it. This game doesn't get talked about enough, and that's Matt Laycock's Era Medieval Age in position number 37. Okay, in position number 36 is a game called Caesar's Empire. Caesar's Empire is for 2 to 5 players. You can play it in 30 to 60 minutes, 2-player. That's very cool. And this came out, I believe, in 2022. I think this was in my top 10 for 2022. Who's the designer? The designer is Matthew Potovin. And I love this game. As soon as I saw it played on YouTube, I thought, that's very interesting. And I watched it over and over again, and I told Lori we're going to like that game. And it's a route building game. You're putting down roads across a map, and the roads are soldiers, and so that makes it very fun and interesting. And then your player board has some spaces on it. You're going to try to acquire tokens as you're building routes on the board, and once you take those tokens, it depends on how you put them on here as to how they score, and it makes the game very, very interesting. We've loved it. Again, I saw it played, watched it over and over again. I told Lori we're going to like this game. You get all these roads, but they're like people, like soldiers, on all the player colors. It's fabulous. Got a beautiful board. Very nice publishing job on this game. Wonderful thick box. I love this game, and we found it on, I think it was we got it for 26 bucks.
I think we got that on Amazon.
Yeah, it was Amazon, but it was for some event. What was it? It was
I don't remember.
A holiday event or something. Yeah, we got this on Amazon for $26 for whatever reason. I don't know if you can still get this game. Can you?
I don't know if you can.
It might be. I don't know. It might be. I should have looked into it. At one time, I think this publishing company was board game publishing company was having some financial problems.
I think Holy Grail is out of business.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is Holy Grail.
I
Yeah, it's Holy Grail Games. So I don't know how easy this is to find right now, but it's a wonderfully light game.
It's on Amazon, but it's $50.
Yeah, 50 bucks. Yeah. But it's a wonderfully light game that's fun to play because of its simple complexity. You'll enjoy it, and I absolutely love this game ever since we picked it up. And again, we got it for an inexpensive price. It doesn't matter what you pay for a game as long as the game is good, and this one is, let me tell you. And that's number 36 in our Ultimate Top 100. Okay, we have 2 games in number 35 position by Inca and Marcus Brand. I think they're a husband and wife team, and they designed all those exit games that some of you have probably played at one time or another, escape room games. But these 2 are my favorites, and I can't stop playing them. They're so wonderful to play. Village is for 2 to 4 players, and it plays in an hour, 2-player, because that's what we play mostly, and we really enjoy this game. So Village is a worker placement game where your workers, your villagers, actually age and pass away. And I love that mechanic in this game. It makes this game special, and it has a chronicle on the board where you're going to place your workers, and timing is everything. You want to get those workers in there because you score for those workers in the chronicle, but you want them to remain on the board and get you the benefit as long as they possibly can also, so you're torn on when those workers should pass away, and each one of them have a number on them, and it's just so tense to be able to work around that. And time in this game is the currency. When you are taking cubes off the board, you have a player marker on your play area, and it moves around, and when you go around you have to age your workers, and that really is something that you think about the entire game, and it makes this game so very interesting. I absolutely love it, and it's called Village by Inca and Marcus Brand. That's a wonderful game. And the other game by Inca and Marcus Brand that we love is called Raja of the Ganges. And this game is for 2 to 4 players. Raja of the Ganges is a dice game, and you have a Kali that looks just like this thing on the front here, and in each one of her hands you're going to put one of your dice, and that's all the dice positions you have. So you're trying to manage the volume of dice that you have on your Kali to go to the board and place workers according to the dice value that you've rolled. And you place those workers in order to acquire tiles to put on your play area and build to get extra benefits, extra bonus, and score points. So this game is so wonderful. When we played this at a convention with some friends, the first time we played the game, there was 4 of us, I think, and one of the players caught on to it very quickly, and he slaughtered the rest of us.
Yeah.
And but I could tell right away this is a great game, and eventually I would have to pick it up, which I did. But it has that scoring mechanism in it where you are, I think it's money and
Fame.
fame.
I think it's
money and fame. And when you meet, that's going to trigger the end of the game. So that's kind of cool too. But Inca and Marcus Brand are wonderful board game designers, and I'm always telling you guys, people who design good board games are not that plentiful out there. But these 2 games you can count on. These games are medium complexity. They're not light like Caesar's Empire that we just showed you during this video, and Karuba. Those are lighter games, still very, very fun, still enough meat on the bone to chew on, but these games are a little bit more complex. If you like something a little bit more complex, these 2 games would be something you really need to look into. They're medium complexity, and they're fun every time you play them. And that's number 35 on our Ultimate Top 100. Okay, now we're at position number 34 on our Ultimate Top 100 board games. And obviously, from looking at these games, you know this is going to be about Rer Kenia. Dr. Rer Kenia is probably the most eclectic and prolific board game designer in the industry. He's made a lot of board games, some of them great, some of them not so great. But you can't deny his contribution to the board gaming hobby. And I just love some of his games. And I have quite a few of them. Quite naturally, I played many of them, and these are the ones I selected to keep in my library. So let's talk about them. First, I'm going to talk about the ones that are a little easier and not so complex. And let's talk about Blue Lagoon first. Blue Lagoon is a game for 2 to 4 players, and it's a route building game that you play in 2 phases. So you have 2 kinds of markers you can place on the board to build your routes, and that's villages and settlers. The villages are these nice little tents that you place on the board. They're real cute. It is kind of an interactive game because you can cut people off in this game. And I've read some people's comments on Board Game Geek that they were upset about that. But in a route building game, you got to kind of expect competition for spaces and areas. So that's just the way this game plays. And I love it. First time we got it, we played it, I said, hey, that's a keeper for us, and that's Blue Lagoon. The next game I want to talk about is a game called Sumatra. Sumatra is the largest island in Indonesia, and you're going to be traveling around on that island with your explorer, I guess it is, and it depends on the position of the Book of Knowledge as to what actions you're going to take on your turn. And in your play area, you'll have a notebook, and you're acquiring tiles and putting them in designated areas on your notebook. Whoever has the most valuable notebook at the end of the game is the one who's going to win. And I like Sumatra. It's a light game, tile laying. I just love this game ever since I played it, and that's Sumatra. The next game I want to talk about is a little game that came out, I think it's 23.
Yep.
I think we're going to say this is a 23 game, and this is Pollen. Now, Pollen is a reworking of a game by Rer Kenia that was older called Samurai, thank you. Called Samurai. I never had the opportunity to play Samurai. I was always looking for it, and never, even at conventions, I just couldn't get the opportunity to play it. It was either gone out of the library when I was at the convention, or I just couldn't find it. But it had a card version of Samurai that came out, and then now this is a version of Samurai the card game. And we played this Pollen game. It's an area control game, I guess you would call it, and you have a hand of cards. Everybody's got the same hand of cards. You're going to lay the cards around blooms in the garden, and it's going to attract insects, and then whoever has the largest influence around that bloom is going to get those insects, and depending on how many of each group of insects you have is how the game is going to score. This game has a tricky scoring mechanism in it. You must understand how the game scores to play it, but once you do, it's very easy, and the game is beautiful in itself, and that's Pollen. It's going to be in my top 10, by the way, for 2023, no doubt about it. The next game I want to talk about is Babylonia. And Babylonia is similar to, it's like Blue Lagoon on steroids. Babylonia came out in 2019. I think it was in my top 10 for 2019. I'm pretty sure. In Babylonia, it's an area control game also, where on your turn you can place 2 clan tokens, which are nobles or farmers, or you can place as many farmers as you like, and that becomes very thinky while you're playing this game, and you're trying to surround ziggurats for points and do various things and various placements, because you can score by how many nobles are touching each other also. So you're thinking very hard when you're playing this game, and the thing I like about it the most is it's very quick. But I really love Babylonia. It doesn't get talked about enough. It's a gorgeous game, so much fun. I hope you get a chance to enjoy it by Rer Kenia. And the next game we're going to talk about is Amun-re. Amun-re was an older game from 2003. It's the 20th anniversary edition. And I don't know, I think it's going to be in my top 10 for 2023, just because it's the first time I had the opportunity to play it. Because the original amun-re was a minimum 3-player game. And so I ignore those games. I will say that I ignore all games that have to have at least 3 players, because I just don't have enough opportunity to play those types of games. But amun-re has new 2-player rules in it, and this is another area majority auction bidding game. And the auction bidding part is what caused this game to be at least 3 players, but now it has the officials variant that allows you to play it 2-player. And also we found that if you use the statues expansion, and there's a few expansions in here that you can use, but the statues one makes the bidding even more interesting at the 2-player count. But we love Amun-re. It's a wonderful board game. I'm glad that we finally got to have the opportunity to play this, and I do want to point out, watch my video on this game if you are interested enough in this game to buy it, because there's some mistakes in the rule book that you have to be aware of, and I make it clear on that video about what mistakes are made. So yeah, that's Amun-re. Okay, this is a 2022 board game, San Francisco. And San Francisco is a city building tile laying game. You're going to be acquiring cards and placing them on your player board, and I love that. I love tile placement games like that, and you're trying to place them in certain ways to score points. And in this game, it's an I split you choose mechanism. Some people don't like that. It's one of my favorites, and when you're doing that, you're adding to 3 different columns of cards that'll be available to all players, and you have to choose, do I want to take those cards or let the other players have them, or do I want to add to the cards that are already there? So it's very fun. I love the publishing job in this game. I thought they did a fantastic job, and it was part of a Christmas in July sale. I think we got it for like $16 or something, of cool stuff, because they were going out of business anyways. But I was glad we acquired it by Rer Kenia. That's San Francisco. Now here's a couple of cooperative board games that we have by Rer Kenia. Star Trek Expeditions came out because of the new Star Trek movie when it came out, and the timing coincided with that movie, and we bought this. Lori found this at a board game flea market for $15. She says, hey, this game's by Rer Kenia. You want to try it?
And it's Star Trek, which we love.
Star Trek. And I was like, wow, I love that movie. But I didn't know about this game. I will have to admit, I didn't know about it. And it uses those HeroClix minis in there. So they're painted, which is a plus. I said, for $15, let's take it home and try it. We loved it. I mean, this game will pound on you.
It's like being in Star Trek and you're getting beat up.
And you can adjust the difficulty, folks. So don't be concerned with, geez, if I get down, it's going to be hard to win. It is hard to win if you choose the difficult level, and even the medium level is pretty difficult. But if you can play it on easy and get your comfortability level up a little bit before you try it on the hard levels. But you can beam up and down from the planet. You're going to different locations on the board, and it's so much fun because at the top of the board there's the Klingon bird of prey. The Klingon bird of prey and the Enterprise. And they have a certain amount of shields and defense, and that bird of prey is just going to beat on the poor Enterprise relentlessly. Almost every card you turn over in the game is going to say it's going to attack the Enterprise. So you're trying to balance that in the game and try to survive that and defeat that Klingon bird of prey. But we played this on easy and enjoyed it so much, we were like, okay, let's go ahead and give it a go. And I think we beat it on medium.
We did, but barely.
Yeah, but barely. We barely beat it on medium. But the publishing job in this game is fantastic, and we enjoy it, and we hang on to it because we love Star Trek, and it's a cooperative game, which we enjoy playing once in a while. So that's Star Trek Expeditions by Rer Kenia. And again, those HeroClix minis in there are pretty cool. And then the other game we just got this year, I believe, and it's a 2022.
I think it is, but it was hard to get.
Oh yeah, it was hard to get. So we called this a 2022, and it's in my top 10 for 2022. I'm pretty sure. But it's Siege of Rundar by Rer Kenia. It's a cooperative game also, and this is a picture of the inside of the box, because the inside of the box is the actual fortress that you're trying to defend. It's being overrun by the generic monsters, orcs and goblins and so forth, and you have 5 different ways you can lose this game and 1 way to win, and you have to survive with 1 piece of gold in order to win this game. And it's tough to do because again there's 5 different ways, 5 different points of attack that are being pressed on you at all times, and so you have to be balancing those the entire game. But the thing, again, it's hard to beat in this game is because you have this fortress right in the box. Hopefully you can see that. It's a plastic fortress, it's right in the box, and you're going to set up your game in there. And a lot of the game takes place on the outside where they're coming up the walls.
The walls,
yeah, but it's very, very cool game. I didn't expect it to be so much fun. We played it at a convention, and it was late at night. We didn't get a chance to finish it, so we didn't know how we felt about it, but got enough of a taste of it that I think, I forget why I said, let's go ahead and get that game. But we did, and brought it home and took it up to our clubhouse and played it and had the best time and enjoyed it very much. I love Siege of Rundar, as I love all of these Rer Kenia games. Hey, Rer Kenia, thank you, sir, for all of the joy and hours of playtime you've brought not only me, but others like me who like to play board games as a hobby, because I enjoy every one of these games that I talked about that were designed by Rer Kenia. He's a fantastic board game designer. I'd expect you to follow him when you get the chance, but these games are absolutely excellent. That's position number 34 on our Ultimate Top 100 Board Games list. Okay, now position number 33 on our Ultimate Top 100 Board Games list is Sagata. And as you can tell by this video, the games are getting a little less complex as we go up the ladder, because I love games that can offer you a certain amount of complexity and can be played quickly with a small rule set. And Sagata fits that bill. Sagata came out in 2019, I believe, and it's for 1 to 4 players, so it has a solo variant. And I love when games have a solo variant, especially games like this, because there's a lot of gamers out there who don't have a spouse or a significant other to play with, and they end up playing their board games by themselves. So it's nice to have a solo variant in the game for folks that are in that situation. So we play 2-player. We love Sagata, and it's about the Sagata in Spain and the beautiful colored glass windows that are there, and you're building a stained glass window of your own in your play area, and it has different difficulty level cards that you can put in the window. It's a dice chucking game. You roll the dice and take turns drafting them and placing them in your stained glass window in your Sagata. And there's a picture. If you haven't played Sagata, oh my gosh, you're missing such a fun time. It's a puzzly game, which is wonderful, and it's so much fun to have the opportunity to bend the rules in here once in a while, because each game you have some cards. I don't know how many you get with the game, but you're going to select 3 of them, I think, and you have these clear tokens you're going to put on them in order to say, okay, I'm going to break this rule. So you put your token on there. Now, if someone else wants to bend that rule, they have to place 2 tokens. So at first come is cheaper, and you're trying to time how to use those rule benders or rule breakers cards that are in the box. But you're placing those dice in your window and trying to do it as efficiently as you possibly can, because there's some strict rules on how you do that. But I love Sagata, folks. This is just a fantastic game. I hope if you haven't played this game that you do so. It's relatively inexpensive and worth every penny. And that's Sagata in position number 33 on our Ultimate Top 100 board games list. Okay, position number 32 on our Ultimate Top 100 board game list is Reef. Reef came out in 2018, the same year as Azul, and it got ignored so badly because of the popularity of Azul, which is, hey, let's face it, Azul's amazing, but so is Reef. And Reef is designed by Emerson Matsuuchi, and you might recognize that name because he just came out with a big blockbuster game, and I mean big, called Foundations of Rome. But in Reef, it uses a card hand management system to acquire coral to place on your board in patterns, specific patterns, to score those same cards. So in Reef, you have hidden information, which is why I prefer it a little bit more than Azul. But that hidden information is that hand of cards. Nobody knows what you have in your hand. Even though they're in a market and you're going to take them from that market, once you have them in your hand, of course, they're going to forget what you've taken. They don't know what you're doing. So they really aren't able to interrupt what's happening on your player board, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I like that about Reef. So when you have that hand of cards, only you know what your strategy is, and I love that. But you can score that pattern on those cards more than one time if you're smart enough to do that and place that coral in such a way, but you can score that pattern more than one time. And doing that is paramount in doing your best and scoring the most points in Reef. I love this game. We played this at a convention with some friends,
we did.
And I didn't like it initially, but after revisiting it, I did learn to love it. You can teach this to somebody and they will beat you. Yeah, we taught this to a family member and they beat us the first time they played it. And that's fun when you can introduce a game to somebody in 5 minutes, tell them the rules, and they beat you at the game. And we probably played this game 50 times, but they were able to do well and catch on. And they loved it. They were like, oh man, that game's amazing.
I think part of it was an accident, but it still worked out.
Yeah. But it was fantastic to see somebody win this game the first time they play it against veterans. And I love games like that. I hope you're like that also, because it's very attractive to new players to be exposed to something they can understand quickly, and then they say, oh man, I guess this board gaming hobby is okay. I like it, since I just beat all of you. But that's Reef, number 32 on our Ultimate Top 100 board games list. Okay, and number 31 in our Ultimate Top 100 board games list is Tiny Towns by Peter McPherson. This is a game I've sold and repurchased. Why, I have no idea. I have no idea why I sold it. I know why I repurchased it. But in this game, it's so interesting that players are going to select colored cubes and you're going to call out that color and everybody has to use that color. And that can be so aggravating. The tension in Tiny Towns exists from the first moment you start playing. And I guess that's why I love this game. I love tension in board games. I think it makes board games more interesting.
And you like shrinking spaces, and that has shrinking spaces.
Absolutely. Because when you're placing those colored cubes on your board, you're trying to do a pattern that coincides with cards that are in the middle of the table, and you're going to place that building on your board and then remove those cubes. And as the spaces on that board disappear, you're trying to figure out, how do I make those patterns now? Because you're running out of space. And I love it in every game I've ever played. When those spaces start to shrink, the pressure's on, the screws are getting put to you because you're trying to break your mind figuring out how to best manage those spaces and score as many points by placing buildings as you possibly can. I love this game. I got disappointed in it when they put out an expansion that I didn't like, and so I said,
instead of selling just the expansion,
I sold the whole thing.
We went crazy and sold the whole thing.
But I didn't like the expansion, but I love this base box of Tiny Towns very, very much, and that's why it's in position number 31 on our Ultimate Top 100 board games list. And there is a solo variant in here. It plays 1 to 6. I didn't mention that. So that's kind of nice for my solo friends. But what a beautiful board game. And that is it for today's segment. I hope I was able to intrigue you with some of the board games that I showed you in this video. We love those games. That's why they're in our library. They are games that I adore. I've played them over and over, and we enjoy them every time they hit the table. They are not that complex. They're easy to learn, comparatively speaking, and that's very important to us, to offer games that are approachable for new board gamers. So I'm looking forward to the next 3 videos. We're getting up there to the top of the list. I'm anxious to show you those games, as I have with all of the games in these videos. Please go back through the videos and re-watch some of those. You'll find some games in there, I'm sure, that you think are interesting and that you want to try. And all of these games, I can testify to you, are so much fun, and that's why I love the hobby of board gaming. I'll see you the next time on the Bones Collector, but please take a second and smash the like button for us. It does so much for our videos, you guys. When you hit that like button, according to how many likes your video has, it moves up the line in suggested videos on YouTube. So thank you for doing that. Please subscribe when you can and share the video. We love every one of you. Thank you for watching us here on the Bones Collector. See you the next time. Bye-bye.